The premeditated murder of 1 million Jews is known as the Shoah by bullets, from the Hebrew word Shoah, meaning catastrophe or annihilation. However, this term is rarely used by scholars because it excludes other methods of killing that took place in these occupied Soviet territories, such as hangings, gas vans, or starvation in the ghettos.
In 1939, the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany signed a non-aggression pact which freed Hitler from the fear of fighting a war on two fronts, encouraging him to launch his campaign in Europe. However, this strategy was only temporary, as his primary objective remained the destruction of communism in the Soviet Union and the fight against what he called Judeo-Bolshevism. This concept was part of a Nazi ideological propaganda which portrayed Jewish population as the main supporters of the Bolsheviks.
On June 22, 1941, the Third Reich broke the Non-Aggression Pact. The invasion of USSR led the German army through territories where numerous Jewish villages were located as legacy of the Pale of Settlement imposed by the Tsars. As the German troops gained ground, pogroms multiplied, often pre-organized with local nationalists. Jews became targets for both the Wehrmacht soldiers and the local population, who, if not directly participating in the massacres, looted Jewish homes. However, from the Nazis' perspective, pogroms were highly visible events that didn't cause enough death.
To facilitate the army's advance and prepare for future German colonization of the East, a decision was made to deploy special detachments to follow the Wehrmacht and eliminate all undesirable populations in the conquered territories, such as Jews, Soviet commissars, resistance fighters, Roma people, etc. These units were called Einsatzgruppen, also known as death squads, mobile execution units established by Himmler and Heydrich in 1939 after the Anschluss. These intervention groups were mainly composed of SS officers, police, and Wehrmacht soldiers who carried out systematic and organized mass shootings. Between 1941 and 1944, the Einsatzgruppen murdered over 1.5 million people, primarily using firearms.
The first large-scale massacre, classified as part of the Shoah by bullets, was carried out at Babi Yar near Kiev. In September 1941, the SS prepared a ravine where they executed more than 33,000 Jews, men, women, and children in just 2 days. This tragedy marked the beginning of systematic massacres of Jewish populations in mass graves and served as a model for subsequent exterminations. Between 1941 and 1944, nearly 1.5 million Ukrainian Jews were murdered, with about 80% of them shot.
However, this method was considered too slow, and after witnessing one of the Einsatzgruppen operations, Himmler, who was reportedly splattered with blood and overcome with nausea, ordered the SS to develop less primitive methods. This led to the use of gas vans, in which exhaust fumes were funneled into the rear compartment, and a year later, the development of gas chambers. These would become the primary tool for the administrative mass murder of Jews in extermination camps, the so-called final solution to the Jewish question.
The history of these mass shootings, well documented in Soviet archives, remained largely unknown to the general public until the archives were opened following the collapse of the Soviet Union.